Birthday cake sour.
I can see that. Like a lemon meringue. Or lemon, not a meringue, a lemon filling in a white cake.
Interesting.
That means it's an overly sugary
Oh, yeah.
sour, I would guess.
Oh, yeah.
Like you could just feel the gritty, undissolved salt or sugar
crystals in there.
Arizona is a wildly beautiful place, brimming with over 100 brewing companies. I'm Rob Fulmer, the Executive Director of the Arizona Craft Brewers Guild. I'm joined by Deputy Director Andrew Bauman. Together we cover the state, bringing you the best of what's happening at our breweries and beyond. Welcome to Arizona Beer Frontier.
Yeah, I had that experience with my emergency today when I just did that one here. It was too cold, so I put the 2 ice cubes in there, and they immediately froze to the cup, and they were so cold. Speaking of temperature of water, I had a shower this morning.
Yeah,
Can you
good
tell?
for you. Yeah,
Yeah, I smell better.
yeah.
Good. It was really, really hot. Like, I'm used to hot water coming out of my cold water. I get it.
Right.
So I took an insulated cup like this, and I let the water run into it for maybe 10 seconds. And I used my little digital thermometer.
Right.
108.3 degrees.
Is your water?
That's the water temperature coming out of my faucet
Wow.
right now.
Are yours? Do you know if your pipes are in the ground or they go up over the top in PEX in plastic, or is it coming up out of the foundation?
Up out of the foundation, yeah.
Wow. So is your street access closer to your shower or wherever you poured this water?
My shower
Yeah.
is the closest to water entry to the home, yes.
Okay.
So
it's not going through the
it's
slab.
right next to the hot water heater, which is great in winter, right? As
Right.
soon as I turn the water on,
Right.
it's hot. It's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
But not so great right now. Man, it's rough.
Yeah. Ours isn't that bad for some reason. I think
It-
we're going through a thicker slab, I would bet, and it's on the other side of the house.
Well, I
than the
think
water
where
heater.
your house is and when your house was built, the pipes were deeper.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And
Like when-
the slab itself, the concrete slab is thicker, which means when we have a problem, it's going to be
Bigger.
shitty.
Well,
If we get
and my house was built in '96, and by that time they had said, "Okay, everybody, just
Right.
barely cover those pipes with a little grass. You're good to go."
Grass.
Yeah, I think they're like 8 inches deep.
Yeah.
Is how deep they have to put water. Oof.
It's still warm. What is it? It's supposed to, by this time next week, it's supposed to be under 100, right? Maybe even in the 80s.
This is all news to me. I haven't been keeping up with that stuff.
Let's see.
I was just shocked. 108.3.
This is a very unusual year, and there are people for some reason who want to deny it. They're, "Oh, you live in the desert. We live in the desert. It's always been this way." It has not always been this way.
No, they have actual records
Yeah.
of how hot and cool it was every hour
Right.
for like the last 100 years.
And they're going to say, 90s. They're going to say, well, that's because they take it, at the airport. Like they still take it a certain height above, in the shade, above the ground, over grass. And yes, we do have a heat island of concrete, but it's also what we all experience. Like, so I don't care if
Yeah.
you're out in the burbs, you have a different temperature reading. It's there are hundreds of stations that your phone picks up on.
I have one in my
Yeah.
backyard.
Yeah. Oh, an official one?
Pretty good one.
Oh, no, I'm saying there are ones that actual feed the
Well, there's
national
Chandler
weathers.
Airport right by my house.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I mean, so yeah, you're going to look up Phoenix. It's going to give you the airport temperature. But if you look up,
Chandler.
if you do your location,
Yeah.
it'll get down to the neighborhood level, and it'll
Yep.
give you if it's hotter, because there's concrete, it's hotter period.
Yeah.
It's just hotter.
right?
Like, so.
But this isn't concrete driven.
No. No. It's.
The nighttime lows are concrete driven.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we have 50 days this summer where it didn't get below 90 degrees,
Right.
that's because of the concrete.
Which reminds
A
me.
lot of it, not all of it. But
I went to a function last night, and Chris Mays, the Attorney General, was there, and it was at the home of, in my neighborhood, probably someone's going to be the state senator for our district, D9. She's running unopposed in a +5 Democratic
yeah,
precinct, and I've known her for a while. She's been on the city council, and she ran for Corporation Commission, and which leads me to today for our meeting. I invited a candidate for the Corporation Commission to say a few things, and here I'll break it down. I don't want to get, it's a partisan election, but they pointed out to me that that under the majority Republican Arizona Corporation Commission, every rate increase asked for by water,
APS, SRP, everybody.
SRP,
Tucson
gas
Electric, yeah.
has been approved. So, if we're talking to our brewery members about cost of goods, that contributes to your cost of goods. So, it'll be interesting. Like, there's not much to that. The Corporation Commission exists to be the public voice to prevent capricious rate increases. And, I don't think anyone who's in a position of power at any of these utilities is suffering. We've got people who aren't able to pay their bills and have in the past died because they couldn't pay their bills. But I also know that people who are my parents' generation would turn their air conditioner off to save money because they want to give it to their grandchildren. And these are people with means. These are
Right.
people who have the ability to pay that money. But there was a case not too long ago where that was exactly it. It was a grandfather, had this brand new truck. He would buy things, but he wanted to save money, and he
Turn his air off and
yeah. And also there was Stacey Champion, who is a political activist who has been on the forefront of fighting for Phoenix to declare heat emergencies, has really pushed the city to take care of people who are on the streets, provide water, cooling stations, all that stuff. So anyway, back to,
the cooling station phenomenon this summer is being held up as a really good thing, a really
Right.
good project that really started this year. It expanded a lot
Right.
and is counted for saving a lot of lives because we are still below 2023's death from heat
yeah.
numbers, and it's been significantly hotter. So, yay.
Yeah.
Hooray, cooling stations.
But back to the point at hand for a podcast that's not about beer, but it's a beer podcast. No, wait, whatever. It's not a beer podcast. It's a podcast about beer. I think it's worth hearing the pitch.
The
for our
Corporation
members.
Commission is essentially the fourth branch of government that has a ton of power.
Yeah.
And no one really thinks about it because it's not one that you normally think of.
Right.
In the whole world and standard politics, the Corporation Commission isn't a thing. But in Arizona,
Right.
it's super big deal.
So, in my opinion, this is not a political issue. It is, are you going to elect 3 people who are going to hold the utilities accountable and limit their rate increases and really question that and push back on that? Or are you going to elect 3 people who are going to do the bidding of the utilities because it furthers their career or some larger philosophical battle about global warming or whatever you want to call it? I think that's where we're at. Like, I would not expect our guest, Joshua Polachek, to go off on other planks in the Democratic Party. I think it's a pretty simple case, and hopefully we'll get that sort of message, and we'll see what our members think about that.
Or do you want to reelect the guy who went to New York City to lobby for Southwest Gas
Oh, you
while
know
he
about this guy.
regulates Southwest Gas?
Yeah, you know about this guy.
I know
Yeah,
about this guy.
Yeah, they apparently they have a couple candidates who have other things that are extraneous. I mean, people with positions on guns and school choice and all. I mean,
And
that's
all-
nothing to do with
The Corporation
utilities.
Commission can do so much about so many things.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that was
that's
something that came
Cool.
out of that.
When
And
is
I
this
did
going to happen?
to our meeting today.
At what time? Any idea?
No.
Whenever he
he's-
gets there.
He's driving back from Payson.
Okay, cool.
So I talked to Attorney General Mays about our displeasure with the Kroger merger. And we discussed, I don't know if you heard on KJZZ, they had somebody from the Taxpayers Union talk about how they were for this because it was going to lower prices, which is a dubious claim.
It is the biggest lie.
It's a very dubious claim, but even so, he also went on to say that this is good for unions, and I'm like, you should probably get a union person on there to explain that. I don't think that's the case also, but why would I take that from the National Taxpayers Union or whatever group, consumer group? But even if you seed those two things, part of this is for grocery stores to support a wide variety of products, not necessarily the most inexpensive ones, but you don't have a forced choice between 3 different types of bread. You don't have a forced choice about 1 or 2 different kinds of potato chips, tortilla chips. You have a huge variety, and that variety is maintained somewhat artificially by product placement fees.
Right.
So if you're at eye level, you're paying a lot of money to slot that, and you're stocking your own shelves. In our alcohol world, we cannot pay slotting fees, although some would argue some of the arrangements by the captains that make recommendations on the shelf spacing for beer in particular, we'll talk about, that is, driven by slotting or favoritism. And, our argument is we want more buyers, and we want our buyers to buy a wide variety of things, not just value point things.
Our argument is that a merger like this will reduce access to the market for smaller producers
Yes.
of every kind. Beer, for sure, is our main
Right.
focus, obviously, but every kind. It reduces access to market because if you want to pitch to Kroger, you go to Cincinnati,
Right.
period.
Right.
If you want to pitch to Albertsons or Safeway today, you can go to a local guy, bring him some samples, show him what you got, and you might get on the shelf.
Right.
That is not the case for Kroger at all.
And the argument is that, well, they're trying to compete with Amazon and Walmart and Costco. And I'm like, I get that. I really do. But what the thing that's insidious about the current largest grocer in Arizona merging with the second largest is that we will go through that one system of having the buyers have to pitch, in another state, but also they are requiring your product to be available at whatever quantity they decide at any time in every location in the state. So if you have a distributor that just does Flagstaff and Tucson and Phoenix, that's a huge swath of the market, and it's not unrealistic to have that sort of requirement.
Yeah.
But it certainly is if you're having to theoretically support Kingman, Yuma,
Globe.
right, places that don't have visibility on some of the biggest and most well-known breweries here in Phoenix, or if you're in Tucson, Dragoon may not be a familiar name. Barrio would not necessarily be a familiar name across the state. So it's a ridiculously harsh requirement so they can save money on a circular that they print out that we're not allowed to pay for.
That we won't be in anyways.
Right.
Because you have to pay to be in that circular. And you pay that by having discounts for, your little
Right.
membership.
Right.
You say, oh, if they key in their little
Right.
member number, they get $3 off.
Right.
Well, if you make that $3, $4, or maybe $5, now we'll put you in the circular.
Right. And so the other monetization of this that isn't overt is using scanbacks so that if you run a program, they get the store gets money back from the manufacturer. So it's just a way around slotting fees, and we've got members who might be upset that we're talking about this because they want to maintain their relationships.
They're in a good space.
Well, they want to maintain their relationships, and they don't want the covers necessarily to be pulled back, I don't think. But nobody from these larger breweries that are currently in the sets are asking us to talk about this, and that's fine. We're talking about it for some of the mid-sized breweries that aren't distributed by the largest distributors. They would have to change distributors, which, with all due respect to my distributor friends, franchise law makes it difficult. So there has to be some compromise in all this.
I was surprised when one of our larger craft brand distributors, not one of the big two, but one of the larger craft brand distributors that I thought was statewide, does not distribute to Wickenburg.
Yeah.
I was like, how is that? Like,
It's in Maricopa
that's
County.
Phoenix Metro.
Yeah.
So it's a real thing. And, they're doing it for business reasons. And I'm not saying they're doing a bad thing.
Right.
I was just surprised, like, wow, I didn't realize that's how it was.
Yeah. Well, even the big two marginally support Wickenburg. I mean,
Oh, sure.
they don't.
They deliver there, though.
You can order there. They'll deliver there.
Eventually.
There are no active sales people out there
Right.
changing anyone's decision making there. They're
Right.
just ordering what they order because they order it. Like there's not. I mean, there might be some coverage at the grocery stores like Bash's there, Safeway there. I don't know that there's a Fry's there in Wickenburg. I'd have to look that up. But and if there ever was, I would say it's reduced by at least 50%.
It's a small little baby store.
Well, no, I'm just saying the coverage
Yeah.
for salespeople
Sure.
in that territory is
Very low.
very, very low. So, yeah, it's a thing, and like I would expect to a lesser degree, Casa Grande would have some of these struggles.
Yeah.
I mentioned Globe, Payson. Those are like tough. So when a brewery signs with a distributor and they say they're statewide, it's not really as true as you think. I remember going through this. We went through this firsthand because we had an agreement with one of the grocers, and like they not only do they have rural stores that have different sensibilities, which is why would you force this perception of diversity, when it doesn't exist anyway. But even in Metro Phoenix, they have value stores, they have high-end stores, and they have, you wouldn't necessarily know it by looking at it. It's not like, how they used to treat Fry's Marketplace differently than, like, that's a very clear distinction. I mean, you're seeing patio furniture, you're seeing clothing, but even amongst stores that look similar, just depending on the neighborhood and what they traditionally sell, they are classed out.
Right.
And so our craft beer is not welcome in a lot of those places.
Yeah, the Fry's closest to my house, which is my grocery store, is that like middle level.
Mm-hmm.
And craft on the shelves is there, like only the big ones though.
Yeah.
Which is fine, I guess.
So
People who buy beer, I don't.
there was supposed to be, I thought, a decision on this merger based on a lawsuit in the Pacific Northwest. I think that was punted on yesterday because there was still some chatter about the discussion about that. But there was literally testimony that said you're really not giving your best stores to you're carving out the stores, and they're mostly Safeway. And they're not the best ones.
Yeah,
And it was
yeah.
acknowledged by And they also examined what is the capability of the company they're selling to turn these stores around. And like, it's not
The
very
answer
good.
was no. The answer was we would love to sell it to them and then buy it back from them in a year, super cheap. It'll be super cool. Our merger will go through. They'll make some money. We'll make some money. It'll be awesome.
So I also talked about that, and I talked about hemp, and I reminded
I was going to ask, did you bring up hemp with her?
I did.
'Cause,
I did.
whoo, that'd be spicy.
I let it. I just introduced it and said, hey, you know, we are actively trying to change that. I understand why a ruling was made, and I said, but you know as well as I do that it's a law that has a lot of holes and it invites a lawsuit. So I'm sure that's why she was pressured by, I think, Representative Montenegro and Shope to come out with a statement of clarity. But I think, I mean, to me, it's skewed on the super conservative, not conservative politics,
Ideologically, but yes.
cover your bases.
Right.
But, and I said, well, I'll be happy to brief you on this because I don't think she understood the slotting fees for alcohol are illegal. So there's a lot of misconceptions about that. What we can and can't do. So I'm like, I'm happy to brief your team on trade practice and all that other stuff.
Right.
Because it's important to us. But yeah, it was an interesting discussion. I brought over some shop beer because it's in the district. Thank you to Dylan
Very nice.
and company for me just going, hey, I got a thing in a half an hour. I need to pick up a case. That's cool. And they're like, of course, absolutely. I actually brought some of the wines here too. So I didn't pre-approve that from the Wine Growers Association, but I bought a mix of Arizona wines that were very well received.
Great,
Yeah.
great.
So, yeah. So that was my little.
It's always going to be a struggle for us against prohibition from here on out. It's really gaining steam and I hate it. But let's not talk about that right now. Let's talk about changing markets. And we did see some changes in the beer markets outside of grocery stores. Tilray purchased 10 different breweries in the last year, brands
Right.
from Miller Coors and from AB InBev.
Well, they started with AB InBev, and it was about 10-ish. And then they maybe did 3 or 4 more from Miller Coors recently.
Mm-hmm.
But on the heels of that, and then also on the heels of Tanya Cornett from 10 Barrel winning the Sheer Innovation Award, one of the highest awards in the industry for a brewer to celebrate, making innovations, inroads in brewing technology, and then to have her sweep the German sour category, getting 2 medals and having the third one won by her protege and the other brewery, the other 10 Barrel brewery, part of the innovation team. I think it's 5 or 6 individuals to sweep that category for probably the first time ever. I think we did talk about it and how we were standing there and she had won this and she's literally right 2 rows behind us and trying to celebrate the moment, but also trying to get out of the spotlight because we were in the background. I'm like, oh my gosh, we
it's her.
And one of my first experiences that I had as an amateur as I got into the professional role was to go to Portland with a bunch of bloggers for a conference and meeting a whole host of notables from the Pacific Northwest, including Fred Eckert and the Widmer brothers and Jamie Floyd from Ninkasi, but also Tanya. And they debuted the movie For the Love of Beer, which was about all of them,
right?
But featuring Tanya Cornett as she won her. At that time, she was with the Ben Brewing Company, I think. Or maybe, but she won a gold, and they had spotlighted her in the movie, and it just turned out. So it was a sort of a remarkable movie moment. But when I've gone to FOBAB, because of her relationship with Melissa Osborne from Four Peaks, I got to pal around with them at some point during the last 2 times I went, and I don't belong in that group, but they invited me to try beers and all that. And then to find out that once they were purchased by Tilray from ABI, they had a banner that says "Now with less Anheuser-Busch." They had a banner that they hung up. To find out like a couple weeks ago that Tilray laid off the entire innovation team, including Tanya Cornett, probably one of the most decorated in recent memory, lauded brewers in the country,
Right.
unceremoniously laid them off. And
it was the day after the deal for the new breweries closed.
Yeah, I think so. Or thereabouts in time. Like
Okay, I read a thing that said the day following the closing of this deal, they shut down 10 Barrel's innovation team.
Right. And I don't think I've seen a statement from anyone on that team. So like, it's fair to say that they have opinions on it, but for right now, they're not saying anything about it. But Tanya did get another award recently in the last day or two and just said karma. That's all it said. So,
Yikes.
Yeah. But, I was pretty angry about it. I in my personal timeline, I said a few things, but I don't know. It's like, I guess it was because I took everything that they had said at face value. Like, people online like to be right in the negative way. Like, I knew this was going to happen. They're only interested in providing manufacturing plants for the eventuality that hemp or THC beverages will be legalized. And I'm like, I get that, but at the same time, they also are on record saying they really enjoy the craft beer segment. And they're going to bring back some excitement. It's excitement.
It's a rough way to bring excitement.
No, I think they were. I think maybe that's initially what they felt, but it's just a stark contrast to what actually happened. So, like, yeah, I'm gonna if somebody says I'm gonna believe them once, like, there wasn't any reason for me to say, well, maybe they're trying to do both. There's no reason for me to immediately say that. But if you're a guy on the internet, you sort of say that and hope people forget about it when you're wrong, and when you're right, it's an I told you so engine. Facebook is an I told you so engine.
And anyone who makes a prediction that doesn't come true just goes,
yeah,
missed that one.
It doesn't make it any less. I mean, it's like, so you were right about it. It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible circumstance. So, don't spike the football, man. But I have to temper this now because, someone who we regard very highly in the industry, who has brought his brewery together and, followed along with the Modern Times collapse and saw potential in that and has, by all accounts, done the right things to move that brand forward, include them into a larger company. It seems like the assets were going towards that. It's not like they let that brand fall. I know in our market, the salespeople are treating each of the products equally, focusing on each, not just to the exclusion of the other. But we just found out that the original Modern Times plant was closed by Kraft Ohana, led by Garrett Marrero, one of the friendliest people in the industry, super personable, has a great memory for people. And that's 57 people. So how do I square that up? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
They moved all their production to AleSmith and are contract brewing it.
Yeah.
And they have 2 months in this transition.
Right. In both cases, maybe that's the eventuality that was going to have to happen anyway. It's just in one case it was handled super terribly. I will remain open to understanding what it wasn't announced very well either. It was just kind of let out.
But there was a transition period. I mean, I think that's kind of a big difference. Like, from the public perspective, there was no transition period with 10 Barrel. It was just done.
Yeah.
And then with Modern Times, at least, there's some kind of, I don't know, giving people a little space to breathe while this is going on, I guess, is the difference.
I haven't seen or read that yet, so maybe I need to take a little dive into that. But I know the first thing I'm going to ask Garrett when I see him is like, tell me about that. Not why, just tell me about it, and He's
Yeah.
usually pretty succinct and to the point, and but I mean, there's not a
We should get him on the phone. Hey, this is the Arizona Beer Frontier, and we're digging deep into what's going on over at Modern Times. Can you give me a little few minutes?
I don't think I have his number.
I do.
Do you? No, I don't. I can't spell his name with one hand.
I was in the same house, same distribution house
Yeah.
as him, and we commiserated over some things.
No, actually, I do have it because we took a picture and he texted it to me, so I have it somewhere. I just might be under G Maui or something.
Well, let's talk about Arizona.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Arizona beer because we've got a few fun things going on. Button Brewhouse has their 7th anniversary.
Okay.
And the reason I bring this up is because I'm on their email list and it came to me.
Oh, good.
So that's coming up
Timely.
this Saturday. Yes.
Oh, you know, also has an anniversary this Saturday, I believe.
Oh,
Is Historic.
Oh.
They're 11.
wow. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. So they just started right before I started, and the first time I met them was when I was hired. I went to the local First Fall Festival, and I said, "Hey, I'm your new director." You probably didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
And like over us, I'm like, "Well, with you, I don't know. We're trying to figure it out."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am subscribed to. I went through our list of breweries and subscribed to every email list I could.
Yeah.
Some of them just don't have one. Some of them I couldn't find it.
Right.
And they might have one, but I don't know. So if you are a brewery and you want to get shouted out, like subscribe me, email me. I will,
Right.
I will shout it out. Another cool thing is
Well,
Bonehouse Coal Service.
Oh, nice.
They do coal service every Monday. So I'm a little late on that, but
Yeah.
you can try next Monday.
Right.
$3 10-ounce pours,
Yeah.
and you finish your beer. Another one magically appears on your
Mm-hmm.
table, and that's what's up.
Yeah, I also saw that Lake Pleasant and Goldwater and who's the third brewery that's hosting it? Darn it. They're doing a Kolsch Fest one of these weekends,
Oh, cool.
and I can't tell you the name of the brewery. I don't
Dang.
know. But here's the thing. I was going to point out, you read all the newspapers. Our newsletters. That's a very passive way for us to get our information. Our members need to...
Hold on. You said I read all the newsletters. That is not accurate.
Okay.
I get all the newsletters. Many times I can click, see the top, they have a summary and it tells me exactly what I need to know.
Yeah, yeah,
Then I have to read other ones.
right,
And I do that often.
right. Oh, it's Roses by the Stairs that's hosting
Oh,
the
cool.
Kolsch Fest. I'm saying it's a very passive way in that the members who have these events could tell us directly and just like say, "Hey, got this link, date." That would be very, very helpful.
Huge.
And I don't know why they don't do that.
I suppose I should take that.
Yeah, we'll take a quick break.
Quick break.
Hey, so Andrew Bauman.
Hey, Rob.
There you go.
Here we are. We're halfway through and we just got our intro. Here we go.
We also judged the beer this week.
We did. We had a really awesome beer judging on Saturday for the Arizona Craft Beer Awards. Shout out to Shamrock Foods,
Yeah.
who has hosted us 3 years in a row. It makes so much sense because they have a walk-in cooler. They're
Right.
not a licensed premise.
Right.
So we don't have to worry about any oddities of bringing a bunch of beverages, alcoholic beverages, into a licensed
Right.
area, which is a no-no.
Right. We'd have to get that paperworked, and
Yeah.
we'd have to establish that no, we are not in fact
Selling or
even though it is there is money exchanged at other levels, you know, in terms of entries and sponsorships and all that. But, and then, you know, like I don't care what license holder you have, bar, restaurant, whatever, they all say, oh, it'd be great to have here, but they want some money for something. They don't just offer you a quarter of the size of their entire location. And
that is definitely another thing is people often reach out to me and say, hey, where's a brewery that I can go have a meeting at?
yeah.
Well, if you want to have a meeting on a Wednesday night at 7 p.m., they can't close down half their dining room.
Right.
I mean, maybe they can. There are some breweries that have separated spaces
Right.
that are more like private dining that might work for it.
Yeah.
But so many people want to do like on a Saturday. So we were there from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. with our judges.
Yeah.
There's no retailer who can let us take over their space.
No.
And they're cooler.
Yes. And, you know, we've had the offer or the suggestion that maybe we could use a distributor, but you can't bring those products in. And you could run into a situation where you'd run into
If that product lands in their building, then it could theoretically be a
franchise situation when they would be locked into a de facto agreement. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not worth
Well,
it.
anyways, it works out great. And they are amazing hosts. They're very generous. They set the room up. They give us little crackers and beverages and stuff. And just awesome how kind they are to us.
Yeah, no, it's a great relationship. And you know, getting back to the distributor or having it at a brewery or having it at a restaurant or whatever, like there is no favoritism possible. They don't have a dog in the fight. And also, there's no incentive for any
shenanigans.
Right. You know, I mean, even, you know, subconscious, unconscious, you know, there's not beer signs in the room.
Right.
Which
there was, however, "It's a girl" sign and the balloon arch,
right?
Which is amazing.
Yeah, it was. Somebody had a girl, and they spared no expense on the
balloon arch.
I know those can be very very costly. I bet that costs $500. I'm not joking about that.
Couldn't say.
Anyway, we have pictures of I have pictures of all of our judges. I made everyone take a selfie, so I'm going to put something together for the award show. We'll post a few of the time lapse things I took, some B-roll from the judging. I just have to make sure that there isn't any. Well, in the judging area, you will not see any branding. You will see no cans, no indication of what is being poured because it's anonymous judging. The judges do not know what they are drinking. They only know the styles as entered by the breweries, and they judge them against those styles. And then at some point, we declare a winner of groups of styles that are similar enough. It's always it's just something that's necessary. You obviously with 100 or so styles and sub-styles, like it's possible that you get 100 entries and no crossover at all. I mean, it's not likely, but we want there to be a minimum amount of entries to declare winners.
And yeah, I mean, it has to be a competition. It can't just be an enterition.
Right. Well, I mean, there are those, by the way. Right?
Oh, there certainly are.
But and they don't necessarily have to be what some people call metal farms, because there are those.
But there are, yes.
No, I mean, you can do meets a certain level of, you know, like world class versus, you know, you can do it by points too.
Sure.
But an award several, I think that's more of a wine thing, right?
I don't know.
They can award I don't know, a double gold. They have a double gold versus a gold, and I think a lot of the medals are you meet the standard, so it is a gold, and others can also get gold.
Right.
But I think a double gold is no. You are.
We had 32 judges.
Nice.
We had another 10 support staff in the
Right.
back, plus you and Doc in the front.
Right.
We had 53 breweries that entered beers.
Nice.
We had 225 entries.
Great.
And we broke all those entries into 19 groups.
Excellent. And then we broke the best of show, which was all of the golds, into 2 rounds.
Right.
And there was on the final table, there was a lot of hand wringing. There were
Yes.
some great beers in there, and
Yeah,
I don't
for sure.
I don't know what they were, but stylistically, I was like, "Come on, that style! Come on!" We'll see.
You can pull this out.
Ultimately, the one that won is a very good beer.
Sure,
And
absolutely.
It was amongst all the beers. And so the way that Best of Show works is there are no notes. There are not really any rules. It is
Right.
what do you all feel is the best beer on the table.
Right.
And there's no accounting for, we don't say, oh, you don't like the style. We allow the judges to be fair and open-minded about it, but ultimately you have to take some off the table. So usually the first couple rounds are like, can we take this off the table? Does anyone want to make a case for this beer?
Right.
And it's all about watching the judges communicate and sort of reflecting how they've worked throughout the whole day, where they had to take meticulous notes and they had to work into a process and negotiate after they have written all their notes, not before, to sort of, defend their positions. And so Best of Show is a great example of, the reward of all that work is to be able to sit at the table and say, we all decided on this beer
This was the very best beer that came to this
of the day
place. Yeah.
at the time.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yeah. But I saw the list. I don't have them committed to memory. We're going to work on the presentation and we're going to work on a bunch of other things. So
If you would like to sponsor a category at the Arizona Craft Beer Awards celebration, just let us know.
yeah. Cool. So what else? That's pretty much it. We didn't really have a day off this week. Maybe Sunday.
Sunday, I was pretty off. I was pretty wrecked.
Oh yeah. I
we
took a
have-
lot of Motrin that day. It's a lot of standing.
Yeah. And for me, like, there was only a plug in one place and I had to bend over to enter my notes in the computer. And I am glad we have a lot of traceability with the competition this year. We have definitely more notes about which tables judged which styles so that we can backtrack and see, oh, maybe we need to talk to these judges about their notes.
Yeah, we did definitely say, who's a brewer in this judging situation? Raise your hand. And I'm like, you're writing notes for these guys. You're writing notes for their colleagues. If you're a brewer at the table, instruct your tables to write notes that you would want to see that would be helpful to you, good or bad. So
Right.
hopefully we're going to see that. I mean, we won't know until we scan all of them and sort of do a cursor review and hear back from the brewers. But yeah, we will be able to say, well, this was this table and we'll have to coach these people
Right.
on this, or we will tell them that you had some of the best comments.
Right.
They have the best words, Andrew.
So great. So great.
Well, this is a good point to maybe finish this episode, or
Yeah, we have
Did you have any more?
No, we
Okay.
have a meeting today with our quarterly meeting is today. So we're going to have some guest speakers coming in and talking to our members and going to do our best to keep it real fun.
I was just looking at my photos. I took a picture of the Victoria beer truck. It's Crescent Crown truck. They are distributing Victoria beer, which is what is it? Vienna lager style. And I just kind of laughed because, there's the truck and it says Victoria on it and it has the license plate with the cactus throwing away something. And it's like, it looks like the cactus is saying, I don't want this beer, throwing it away.
It's the Keep Arizona Beautiful license plate, and that does look like that.
Yeah. I was like, that's interesting.
Oh, that is great.
Someone could put little decals on it and never know.
Just put a competing beer little sticker on there.
Yeah. Well, this is the, like people have put stickers on my car. I'm sure they've done it to your car. Like I've put the Guild logo on several Hensley vans and Crescent vans in my time, just because.
There was a time when sticker bombing was something that people did.
Yeah. I'm not a huge sticker bomber. I usually ask, but
Yeah.
not on beer trucks.
I think those days have passed though.
Yeah, it was a little childish.
Childish exuberance, but maybe that's part of keeping it fun.
Maybe. Speaking of having fun, we are going to get ready for our meeting. We've got some technical hurdles and
Got some AV to set up.
Yeah, and we don't. Do we have a deck? We don't have a deck, so
No, we don't need a deck.
okay. Well,
I have an agenda.
okay.
It's got people's names on it, speakers, times.
Perfect. This is a good opportunity to allow you to do more of the leadership of the meeting, and I can sort of try to shut up, but I won't. Anyway, Andrew, this is not a beer podcast.
It is a podcast about beer.
Yes. Cheers. Enjoy your coffee, water.